So, hello everyone. Welcome to this special Zoom meeting on World Suicide Prevention Day. My name is Shikha Kaushik, founder of Heal and Revive and Women Flourish, a clinical psychologist and part of Sajid's team. We are here to join us today to bring together inspiring voices and raise awareness and share hope. So, without further ado, let me introduce Sajid. Mr. Sajid Maula, he is the founder of Therabist Solution, a platform that elevates mental wellness professionals. Beyond that, he's an author, a passionate advocate for mental health awareness.
Hello everyone, I'm Shajid and I'm so happy to welcome you to today's meeting on this memorable day, September 10th, World Suicide Prevention Day. We come together to spread awareness and to add something meaningful to people's lives. As we mark this important day, I want to acknowledge the gravity of the issue. Suicide is a major public health challenge, claiming the lives of more than 720,000 people every year. Each life lost has profound social, emotional, and economic consequences, deeply affecting families, friends, workplaces, and entire communities around the world. It's heartbreaking to think about the impact of suicide on those left behind. But today is not just about raising awareness, it's about inspiring hope and action. And the triennial theme for World Suicide Prevention Day from 2024 to 2026 is changing the narrative on suicide. This theme calls on us all to challenge harmful myths, reduce stigma, and foster open, compassionate conversations about suicide. It's about, shifting from silence and misunderstanding to openness, empathy, and support, creating environments where people feel able to speak up and seek help. And that's exactly what we hope to achieve today. And we are so honored to have three wonderful speakers with us today. Angela Kaplan, licensed mental health counselor, EMDR certified therapist, and brain health coach, certified Amin University brain health coach. Chastity Leonard, spiritual coach and guide, certified dead doula, and grief specialist who supports people through suicidal loss and healing. And Christy Dickey, platinum performance coach with over 30 years of experience. Before we begin, I want to sincerely thank each of you, Angela, Chastity, Christy, for accepting my invitation and joining us here. And at this point, I would like to hand over to Angela, who will be moderating today's session while also sharing her own expertise as a panelist. Angela, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shahid. I'm honored to serve as both moderator and panelist today on this special day. I would like to go ahead and ask a question to Chastity. Chastity, I wanted to hear your opinion and your expertise with these questions.
Okay.
First one is, for someone who has lost a loved one to suicide, what first steps can help them move forward?
Okay. This is a deeply personal topic for me as my boyfriend and best friend took his life in October 2016. When it happened, I was in complete shock and grief. I couldn't think clearly or process anything. It felt almost possible to know what I should even do next. So I remember going to a grief support group at a church nearby my house. And the people were really nice and welcoming, but I felt really out of place. No one there had experienced a loss like mine, which made me feel even more alone and outside of myself. I felt like nobody could truly understand the amount of grief, confusion, and guilt that was running through me. So, for anyone who is going through something similar to this, please allow yourself to reach out for support. And I'm not saying just any support. Try and connect with those that have gone through and understand this type of loss, whether in person or through supportive online communities. This can help you feel more understood and less alone. Because being able to share your story with another person, that just has it makes a world of difference. Being able to share that same experience with, with somebody else that's gone through it, it makes it a little easier. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you for sharing that. Being that you were actually in those shoes and you could definitely understand what so many people may be going through. So I really appreciate you sharing that from your own experience.
Of course, any way I can help others, because it feels like a very lonely path when you don't connect with others that are going through it.
Absolutely. Secondly, I do have a second question that I wanted to ask you. How does spirituality support people experiencing grief and despair?
Okay, spirituality can be profound support for people experiencing grief and despair. I think it helps us see life and death from a more broader perspective. And it reminds us that grief is not the end. And that's what we've been taught for a long time, but it's part of a larger journey. And for me, connecting with my spiritual side of my life has provided comfort and meaning during the darkest moments of my life. It can help our minds like to understand that life continues beyond these physical bodies and that death is not the end, but a transition from one dimension to another. And this perspective has been absolutely life-changing for me and has brought me peace of mind in ways I never thought possible. So I truly believe it can offer that same comfort and healing to others who are walking through the pain of grief and starting their healing journey.
Thank, thank you so much for your, I think I agree with you with the importance of spirituality in our lives, and that's like the thing that's missing that we all need, and that actually brings us out of our hardest moments in life and out of our despair. So thank you very much, Chastity, for that.
Of course, my pleasure.
And now, Christy, these are my questions that I have for you.
Okay.
The first question is, why do some people stay stuck in negative patterns that increase their mental health risks?
I am so glad you asked me that question, Angela. And I think the content of that message is how I can contribute to this conversation. So I think partnering with some of the thoughts that Chastity brought up, which are kind of pointing us towards deeper self-awareness and more of the esoteric part of our lives. What I'm going to speak to is how you merge that with behavioral science. So I'm going to just speak to some concepts of why do people do what they do. It kind of can be traced back to four root causes. Typically speaking, people do any behavior for one of four reasons, generally speaking. So one is, doing things for attention, which is not a bad thing. When I hear people say, "Oh, I knew they were doing that for attention. They're attention seeking." Yes, that's such a human need to feel connected. Don't we all want some attention and to feel connected? So that's one root cause of why we do anything, even a negative behavior. It could be because we need to be seen and heard, right? Paid attention to. The second, it could be escape. Something feels overwhelming, maybe even painful. And so you might do something because you want to escape that experience. Another one could be for a tangible thing, like we all go to work so we can get the paycheck. That's a great example of a root cause of I'm doing this to get that. And then the last thing is because it feels good, generally speaking. You know, why do we go get a massage? It feels good. So if we think about any human behavior as communication, they're telling us that it falls into one of those four categories. And I'll say them again. One, we do things because we need to be attended to. We want some attention, to be seen and heard. Maybe something feels really overwhelming to us. It's just, uncomfortable in some way. We want to escape or avoid that thing. Sometimes we do things because it gets us something, a tangible thing. Or the last reason I mentioned, because it feels good. So here's the deal with that. We may not recognize these behavior loops in ourselves because even negative behaviors are meeting one of those four root causes. And then we get that immediate short-term relief from it. So if, let's say, I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed everywhere with my relationships, at work, in the community, everywhere I turn, I am feeling so overwhelmed. So the way that I'm going to try to escape that and maybe also feel better, I start drinking way more than what I used to do. So that's my tool. I don't realize that as I repeat that over time, I'm reinforcing this negative behavior now because it is meeting my need. It is helping me not be overwhelmed and escape the feeling of uncomfortableness. The problem being is that's a short-term fix, but over the long haul, it's going to ruin my health, wreck my relationships, drastically decrease how I perform at work. So that's how people end up falling into these negative patterns. Whatever it is they're doing is meeting one of those four root causes. It's meeting one of those four needs that we as humans have. It's reinforcing because it makes us feel better in the moment, in the short term. But in the long term, you can see that picture can end up with really, really negative results. And that is exactly, where we come in as coaches, therapists, healers to help people unpack. Like, what was that root cause? What were you feeling in those moments where you chose this negative behavior or solution to meet that need? Where were you in that point in time? Let's unpack that in a really non-judgmental way and start to dig into what are some other ways, healthy ways, that we can start meeting those needs that are real in ways that are going to help you over the long haul.
Thank you so much for that explanation. It's very empowering to know that once we're aware, we're able to break any cycles of negativity or negative thoughts. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then next, how can coaching help prevent burnout and hopelessness, especially for professionals?
I think coaching does three things. And I would start by saying, let's differentiate coaching between like real, licensed therapists that you're working with. When you go to a therapist or a counselor, they're helping you unpack literally everything, right? So that you can look back and figure out, your trajectory and where maybe some of these negative behaviors or beliefs about yourself are coming from. From my perspective, I feel like coaching is meeting where you are at right now. Let's decide, if we think of your life like a big suitcase, what's in that suitcase right now that we want to shape so that moving forward, you can start building in some daily habits, et cetera, that are going to help you. So sometimes it's helpful to know that difference. Both are so very valuable. And both are very impactful for a person that needs some help sort of navigating life's ups and downs. It's challenging, but I feel like coaching can bring three things. It can help be a mirror. It can help provide you with methods, and it can help you with coming up with different strategies, et cetera, to help you as you move through this. As a mirror, remember when I said, we develop these habits, right? That might be negative, that may have met a short-term need, but over the long haul are harming us. So a coach can kind of hold up that mirror for you in a really non-judgmental way. Just reflect back your humanness, where your pain points are right now. So you do feel seen and heard and valued, so that you can understand. In my example, I said, I'm drinking way more wine than I ever did. Where's that coming from? Why am I doing that? To be able to talk about that in a really transparent, non-judgmental way, to say, listen, you're feeling really overwhelmed right now, maybe even a little bit of emotional pain. So that wine is helping you numb out. It's helping you escape and avoid. So your behavior is telling me, you need some better escape strategies right now. You need some better methods to sort of feel better in your body. Let me hold that mirror up to you. And then I can hold up that map as well to say, let's talk strategy. What are some things that we could start slowly, incrementally building into your life so that you have better daily habits and rituals that are going to meet that need for you to escape and to feel better, that are going to be good for you and over the long haul are going to help you. So we'll start doing some things where we'll start putting frictionless things into your life. So the thing that we're coming up with, like this, these are healthy ways to feel better and to escape. Let's build in some habits that you can start tomorrow that are frictionless. We're going to make the things you want to do much easier to do, and we're going to find ways to reinforce that. And we're going to make the thing that you want to stop doing way harder. Let's put some friction there, so it's harder for you to do that. Let's see if we can build some new loops. But I will say, don't drop what Chastity is talking about. It's really helpful to blend both the knowledge of behavior science with the self-awareness and the consciousness development. So both are equally good. So we talked about mirror, we talked about map. Let's talk about methods. So coaches can really help you build in the design of these new habits and different recovery rituals so that these become sustainable things. And what I mean is, let's apply this to a physical thing. So if all of us were being tasked to run, let's say 10K, I wouldn't say, okay, meet me next Wednesday and we're going to run a 10K. No. I would assume that we need to start with the smallest measurable behavior that we could come up with to start doing tomorrow. And so that's step one. That's our very small incremental change we're going to make tomorrow. We're going to reinforce that. And then we're going to start stacking, right? And reinforcing all along the way so that maybe in 3 or 4 months, we can actually go run that 10K. The same applies to our emotional and mental well-being. When we start making these changes, we need to do them in a way that's going to build that behavioral momentum. The smallest reinforceable shift or new habit that we can begin tomorrow, that we can make easy to do and highly reinforcing. And then over time, you can completely transform your life.
Thank you so much for sharing the benefits of coaching and how that is so important when it comes to, mental health and also achieving goals that are congruent with the goals that are made in therapy.
Yeah.
So I guess, Angela, it's your turn now to answer some questions. So
Yes, it's my turn.
go ahead. So many people do wonder about the link between trauma and suicide risk. Could you share your thoughts on how unresolved trauma, such as bullying or PTSD, increase the risk of suicide?
Unresolved trauma that is not treated leads to chronic depression. This depression and sense of hopelessness increases the risk of suicide. In my experience, the symptoms of depression may be treated by antidepressants, but the underlying deeper issues still remain long term. Research shows people with a history of trauma and PTSD have a higher risk of suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, and suicide. There is evidence that traumatic events such as childhood abuse may increase a person's suicide risk. The key for prevention is education about trauma and using therapies such as EMDR to thoroughly resolve the trauma.
Okay. So my next question would be, what role brain health plays in emotional resilience and suicide prevention?
Brain health plays a vital role in emotional resilience and suicide prevention. And that's because the brain is the center of everything that we do. It is important for optimal brain functioning. When the brain is healthy, we make good decisions and are able to rebound from negative thoughts and feelings of hopelessness or despair. Brain health looks at our healthy lifestyles. This means eating a rich and nutritious diet, regular exercise, and engaging in healthy sleeping routines. Our nutrition directly affects our moods. We do good for our brain when we limit or abstain from sugar, caffeine, alcohol, and other substances. Those who are malnourished may have poor brain healthy habits and are prone to sickness and hopelessness, which may lead to suicide.
Well, thank you for that incredible insight. So my next question will be for Chastity.
Mhm.
What does compassionate, non-judgmental support looks like for families in crisis?
Okay, I believe seeking help should always feel safe and non-threatening. Compassionate and judgmental support means creating a space where families can share their honest emotions without fear of being judged or shamed. It looks like listening more than talking and allowing people to grieve in their own way and meeting them right where they at instead of telling them how they should be feeling. It also means offering understanding, patience, and presence, even when there are no easy answers, especially in this type of trauma. I've learned through my own experience that the most compassionate thing you can do for someone is simply to be there and to witness their pain and remind them that, they're not alone. And I think that's a huge thing for someone going through so much shock and pain and grief.
Well, thank you so much for that powerful insight. So
Of
next,
course.
my question will be for Christy. And what daily practices can help someone shift towards resilience and purpose?
I often recommend framing your day. So think like bookends, how you start your day, a midday check-in, and then the end of day. Think rituals. Create some daily habits, daily rituals that really help you love yourself and take care of yourself. So I'll share like these are the things that I try to do every day. So when I say frame at the beginning of my day, I think in threes because it helps me to remember what it is that I'm practicing. So as I start my morning ritual of prayer and meditation, I'm going to start with the threes. One, the first one is 3 deep breaths, right? You're breathing in, holding for 4, and then exhaling. So I'm referencing box breathing, which is breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Do that for 3 rounds, just helps you get grounded. The next thing I do is I sort of set my intention for how do I want to show up today? So it could be, for example, today I want to show up calm, confident, and courageous, right? And then I'm going to pick out of that 3, what's the number 1 that's the most important to me? What do I want to embody? So maybe it's going to be confident. That's the thing that I want to like feel that in my body. All right, let's go have a day. So I started with my big threes. I got my 3 breaths in. I picked out, that intention of how am I showing up today? I'm calm, confident, and courageous. You know what's most important? I want to be confident, excuse me, today. And I try to embody that. So that's how I start. And then somewhere in the middle of the day, I want to do a check-in. And the reason I do that is sometimes we can be holding, sort of this negative energy in our body. For example, like, I'll sit down to check emails and my shoulders are like way up here and I'm all tight. So a midday check-in is kind of nice, to just sort of like put your attention on, your body. Start from your head and go to your toes, or start at your toes and go to your head. But you're just noticing, gee, am I, clenching my jaw? Do I feel tight in my chest? Are my shoulders tense? Is my back tense? How am I feeling? Just stop for a second and think about that. Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling worn out? Like what, hungry? Just that midday check in through a body scan. And then again, like at the end of the day, you're going to want to do that check in again. Again, you can do the 3 breaths. Box breathing is great. Then reflect back. Okay, this morning I said I was going to be calm, courageous, and confident. I'm going to reflect back on, an example of me doing that today. Where was a great example where I really did embody being confident? Yay, Christy, I did that, right? And then I might even like prime myself to think about my tomorrow. What am I feeling for tomorrow? Let me think about that. Tomorrow I really want to embody love, because I know what's on my schedule tomorrow, and that's really how I need to show up. So again, think in threes. Start off with your big threes, breath, right? Your intentions, your big thing you want to embody, your midday check-in, end of day, bookend it by breathing techniques again, reflecting back on your wins and setting an intention for tomorrow. Sometimes I even do like a weekly check-in where maybe if I have time on Fridays, I'll go back and look at my schedule and remember, what did this week look like for me? What were the things that really drained me down? I'm going to try not to put so much of that in my schedule. If I have control over it, I'm either going to put less of it or I'm going to try to delegate it. And then do the opposite. What were the things that really filled your bucket, so to speak? Wow, I really love it when I meet with people that are new and I get to hear about what other people are doing in this space. I need to do more of that. So getting really intentional about where you're spending your energy can be so helpful.
So, my final question to you, Angela. How EMDR restores hope, empowerment in people struggling with deep pain and suicidal thoughts?
EMDR restores hope and empowerment in people struggling with pain and suicidal thoughts in a tremendous way. It empowers the individual that true healing comes within themselves and that their brains naturally know how to heal, similar to a cut in the body. Our brains have adaptive information processing, or AIP, which means our brains naturally process information to achieve brain health by storing hopeful memories while discarding those that are not beneficial. In trauma, the brain system can get overwhelmed, leading to stuck or dysfunctional memory networks. EMDR is a missing link that all medical professionals should be aware of and to seek a trained or certified therapist.
Great. Now that concludes. Now, Sachit, over to you.
Thank you all for sharing your wisdom with us. And stay safe, take care, and let's continue to spread awareness and hope. Thank you, all of you.
Yes,
Yes,
thank
it
you
was
for
a
having
pleasure.
me.
Yeah.
Thank
Pleasure
you
to
so
meet all of
much.
you. Mhm.